Cases of a fatal turtle disease are trending downward on Queensland's Fraser Coast, but researchers are still concerned about the population's future. In 2022, marine turtles with soft shell syndrome started washing up on Hervey Bay shores 300 k's north of Brisbane. It's believed the illness may be the result of flooding in 2022, which damaged seagrass beds and left turtles with nothing to eat. And Dr. Kathy Townsend is an Associate Professor in Animal Ecology at the University of the Sunshine Coast, and she joins us now from Hervey Bay. Kathy Townsend, welcome. So take us through what happened as a result of those multiple flood events that we've seen over the past 5 or 6 years.
Thank you, Joe. So it was a big impact. We had 3 back-to-back giant floods, and what ended up happening is that most of the seagrass died during that time period. So it was basically flooded, and huge amounts of sediment ended up on top of the seagrass beds. And think of it as like putting a tarp out on your grass or on your lawn. It dies underneath. And during this time period, the sea turtles really had to make some hard decisions. They either could leave the area, or alternatively, they could change to a different diet. Now, the dugongs, a lot of them actually did leave, but the sea turtles, they tend to be much more site attached. And we found that they were changing their diet. There was no seagrass left. So instead, they were moving up into the mangrove areas and feeding on things like mangrove seeds and mangrove leaves, which we suspect probably didn't have the same level of nutrition as you would get in things like your seagrass beds.
And you think there's a direct connection between that and the soft shell cases?
So we suspect, we don't know for sure. There was a large team looking into what was happening with the soft shell disease. Was it a virus? Was it bacterial? And in the end, it determined that the animals were just in such poor body condition that they were being exposed to pathogens that they would probably been able to have dealt with normally. So we are concerned that it potentially can come back. The goodish news is that it was restricted just to the Hervey Bay region, and there was only a couple of cases outside of that. And again, a little bit more good news is they're very much down from those 2000 and 2020 initial cases of animals coming through.
And the seagrass came back.
Well, see, our coastal areas are completely designed for flooding, right? Like it happens. It's part of the natural cycle. What's not part of the natural cycle is having 3 big ones back to back. That's when it becomes a problem. So seagrass and floods kind of go hand in hand because, yes, they do get covered, but then the sediment gets washed away and the nutrients gets left behind and the seagrass can regrow again. The problem is, of course, is when you have multiples that happen back to back, which is what we think happened with our green sea turtles up in this region.
And so how do you prepare for that in the future to help the turtles get along?
Yeah, that's a really good question. This is a big picture scenario. So, I wish I could provide you with a quick silver bullet that would say, yes, if we just did this, it would be fantastic. We could fix it. It'll be all great. But it's looking at it from a whole bunch of different angles. We need to make sure that we're trying to reduce the amount of sediments that are going into these bay systems in the first place. So that's dealing with things like vegetation along waterways, stormwater drain, filtration, but then also, when we do have these big events, looking at things like rehabilitation. So providing, either replanting seagrass so that it has a bit of a boost for recovery, or alternatively looking at other ways that they can be actually sheltered in some way. And of course, the other way we can look at it, which is what we've really been doing up here, is we've actually gone ahead and we've kind of prepared for the future. And we've created what's called the Milby Center, which is a research and rehabilitation center with the University of the Sunshine Coast, where we're basically preparing for if this happens again in the future, the poor volunteers and Australia Zoo Wildlife Hospital won't have the burden to shoulder all on their own. We'll be able to provide some support going forward into the future, which I wish I could say it's not going to happen again, but I think it probably will do.